ATV Talk, the podcast. Sit down with your host, industry professional, Leonard Duncan, as the men and women from the ATV world bring their behind-the-scenes stories to life. Every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And remember, dream big. It could be your story one day.
Brought to you by Take Two Custom Tees, screen printing experience that is dedicated to quality and customer service every time.
Hi, I'm Leonard Duncan, host of ATV Talk. We hope you enjoyed episode 1. Episode 2 is with Danny Prather, multi-time score and Best in the Desert champion. Please enjoy. Danny, I'd like to welcome you to the ATV Talk podcast. I really appreciate you coming out and talking to us. No problem. And
Appreciate good to be here, man. Thank you.
Oh, well, no problem.
Thanks for having me down.
It's great to have you. We're just going to talk about Danny Prather and who Danny Prather is, where Danny Prather comes from. There's people out there that know who you are, but they want to know who you are.
Okay.
Not just the racer Danny, not the guy that won. I'm not even sure how many Best in the Desert championships or score titles.
So 2 score and 6 Best in the Desert pro quads.
All right,
6 in a row on the Best in the Desert.
That's pretty.
And I can't claim it all by myself. A good team, being a part of a good team, and I was a fill-in rider for the first 2 for Best in the Desert when Nick Granlund broke his leg. Both years he had issues and had surgeries as he was in and out, so I ended up filling in for him in 09 on the scat track was my first year.
Oh, nice!
Like first championship of Best in the Desert. But
nice.
You know how it goes. You race for 20 years, you get
you get it. And you've had your fair share of get offs.
Yeah.
So, Danny, tell the listeners, how did you get into off-road racing and where did you grow up?
Pretty much, growing up in El Cajon City, Lakeside area, just being surrounded in this area with local pros and shops like Duncan Racing and Alba and different local guys, but pretty much I got started as about 4 years old. My dad got me a little TRX 70 and we started going to the desert, and he was racing 3-wheelers at the time. And my grandfather raced in the late 60s. He was an AMA champion and won Zane Prather. My grandpa Zane, he's a good old time racer, and
didn't he ride a TT 500?
Yeah, he rode a Husqvarna for factory Husqvarna. He rode on the factory Honda team in the, I think, 96, 95. Or maybe it was 94.
Jimmy Brown just refurbished his Husky.
Yeah. He just rebuilt his old Husky, and man, he did a killer job. Jimmy does such a good job on those bikes. He's so meticulous, and he kind of built it back the way it was when my grandpa raced it. So it was really cool to see, that bike come to life again from being in a shed for 30 years or however long it was. It was cool to see Jimmy bring it back, but. So my grandpa raced. So I grew up down in Baja, going to just fun rides with the Matlocks and all my dad's friends, just going San Quintin runs and chasing my dad around when he would race. I always just wanted to do it, and I was started racing when I was 15 up at Verona Speedway. My dad got me one of his parts bikes that I just built out of shambles, a stock 250R, and it was a great time. Learned a lot racing around with local pros. And
you raced some District 38 here in Southern California.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I started down there. My first race was when I was 16, and it was pretty cool. In my first race, my dad loaned me his race bike, and I had suspension and big Desert Lance Shoemaker tank on it and everything. I pulled the whole shot somehow, and led to like the first checkpoint, and I thought I was lost, but I was by myself. I was out front. I thought I was just lost, And here comes Greg Rowe ripping by me, and I finally realized I had gotten a really good start. So I hung with him for a while around the first 2 laps, and then I think it was Mark Spaeth got by me on the last lap. So I ended up 3rd overall and first amateur in my first desert race. Which was I was stoked. I was hooked. From there on, I loved racing quads and just being around. My dad racing quads just helped me with the relationships.
Well, you said your dad started in the 3-wheeler area.
Yeah.
And then rolled into the quads.
Yeah,
ATVs.
he raced Ducati 3-wheelers, all the Hondas back in the 86, 87, until the TRX came out. And then he started racing with Cliff Matlock and Greg Rowe and doing Baja stuff. And he actually won the championship Score Series in 91 and 92 back to back. And they won the 500 and the 1,000. So that just really, I always looked up to those guys, and just had so much respect for what they did, and just really enjoyed those long distance riding and not more or less just being on the bike for hours at a time. I just really enjoyed the adventure of it and just pushing yourself. And
the high speed desert.
Yeah, high speed
is more where your skill set came from, because that's what you learned how to ride.
Yeah, I grew up down there, in Glamis and Superstition area, Ocotillo Wells, just riding. So it just was a good introduction to that form of racing. For me, was my wheelhouse for just growing up.
So did you spend your early career racing Score first or Best in the Desert first?
I actually, Greg Rowe invited me to race in 1996, the Baja 500. I was 16, and I rode from Borrego all the way back up through Ojos Negro into the finish line. And the bike blew up right when it got to me, so we had to work on the bike and change the piston or cylinder out. So right when I got on the bike, my very first race, I was right in the middle of a trophy truck. Like in the middle of the mud.
Easy to rebuild a two-stroke.
Yeah. Yeah, you could rebuild it in 30 minutes at a pit. Just sand the piston down, whatever you got to do to get it back going.
Well, exactly. It's all about getting to the finish line.
Yeah, and I've always had a mentality, just getting to the finish, no matter what it took. So my first ride down to Mexico, I raced. We were in second place in our class. I think we had 5th overall or something, but it was a good time.
As long as you had a great time.
Yeah, it hooked you. Yeah, it hooked me for sure.
So when did you start getting your own team going?
Well, let's see. Me and Wayne Matlock kind of did a privateer thing through Alba Racing. Was kind of our first team, and on the 250R we raced District 38 at all the team races and stuff. So I was kind of did more or less chasing Alan White around District 38 for about 4 years, and doing all those races. And then I raced, got an invitation from Greg Rowe to race for the Bombardier team with him and Wayne Matlock and Dean Sundahl. We raced in 2001. That was pretty much our first really big team, as far as factory effort and backing and
right, and
budget.
That got you going in the Baja thing.
Yeah.
So when you raced Baja, what was your preferred machine?
I really always liked the 250R just because that's what we originally started on. It was so light and it was just real easy to work on and pretty reliable as long as you didn't hit the silt beds too hard. But the DS650 was great, but by far the best bike down there was the TRX 450 was my favorite bike, just all around power and just really, really reliable.
And you got to ride a 700XX.
Yeah, for Honda in 2008. After we won the championship in 06 and 07 down there in Baja and Score, and so Honda had given us some support and given us bikes through Temecula Motorsports. But in 2008, we were on the factory team with Wayne Matlock as our teammate, and it was a great bike. It was a great program. Got to work with Bruce Ogilvie, which is a legend in any kind of racing. Yeah, and he was really just a great mentor to have. And I learned so much in a short time I had we spent together, but just the R&D and the amount of effort that goes into testing and proving a part before you race it and proving a bike before you race it, just that organization and just all the
The preparation,
yeah, and just all
from pre-running to packing the truck right.
Yeah,
not only prepping the machine correctly.
Yeah, pre-running and just having having the bike prepped correctly, all the right parts in the truck.
You can do the bike correctly, but if you don't load the truck right, or if you don't get to the pit correctly, you're not going to make it.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a whole new level for me, but there was a lot of pressure too to win. We had the number 1 plate that year, and with a brand new bike coming out, Honda really wanted to win, and they really one of us, either our team or Wayne Matlock's team, to win. And so we did a lot of prep, a lot of testing, a lot of trial and error, and we had the bike working great. I thought it was a really great, comfortable bike, you know, just for long distance. You could sit down, and I think that's why that bike's done so well in Dakar. You know, it's just a good horsepower, good powertrain, and it's comfortable to ride.
It is a great machine. It doesn't work as well in Dakar as
The Raptor.
the Raptor 700, but it does work well.
Yeah.
I got to work on one down there in 2013 in Dakar, and other than having to change a lot of clutches and a lot of axles, when you have a motocross guy riding your Dakar bike, it doesn't really work. He's hard on the clutch.
Right.
He's hard on the machine too, but hard on the clutch mostly.
Yeah, we've had teammates like that too. That, you know, some guys just override the bike, and we were always, and I learned that with Bruce too. Was, you know, you're only as strong as your weakest link, especially in prep and your teammates and just everything. You know, everybody's got to be on the same page and want it as bad as you, or, you know, just if they don't believe they can win, it affects the rest of the team.
Well, I spoke to PT2, Paul Turner,
Mm-hmm.
and he said that if your team's not clicking, generally you're not going to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I kind of agree with him. You know, you got to have that. Everything's just, even when it's a negative, it's a positive, because everybody just moves right over, takes up the slack, makes it happen, gets it fixed. Yeah, you know, I mean, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it makes it fun if you can get along with your teammates and your sponsors and everybody, and just have a good relationship with everybody. It makes it so much easier. And
we kind of just missed each other in Baja, because I started working with Craig Christie in 2009 down in Baja.
Right.
And you were phasing your way out, and I was bringing myself in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, 2009 with the economy crash down here in Southern California really affected our businesses up here. And so we kind of took a little break, kind of just from Baja, all the team, after Bruce Ogilvie died in 2009. And so we just kind of took it easy for a little bit. And I really wanted to get a Baja team together. And I was working on it. Me and Josh Rowe were talking about putting together a team. And it just, the sponsorships weren't there. Everybody was hurting. All of our sponsors were, you know, I mean, we had...
In 2008 to 2015, 16 was a rough...
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, everybody got hit really hard, and didn't pull out all the way, but everybody cut back. You know, maybe you were getting free product, but you weren't getting sponsorship endorsements for the...
Yeah, you got to get money to pay the bills.
Right. You know, just to even get to the races is really expensive, especially in Mexico. You know, to win, and for us to go win, you have to be down there for a week or 2 weeks and pre-running. And
I don't believe that anybody that doesn't race doesn't have any understanding of how much it really costs.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can spend as much as you want. You know, I mean, I think our first year with the Bombardier team, I think we got like $100,000 or something to go race for the season, and that was covering bikes, hotels, everything. And I mean,
it wasn't even close to
it. Wasn't that, but you know, when you go with that much effort and you have that many people on the team, and you know, it's not that much, but
it helped. It helped.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was a step up from a 250R in the back of my orange van. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's always. Wasn't that orange van your dad's?
Yeah, it was my grandfather's van. They bought it. He ordered it. Caltrans orange, you know, and he just loved that thing. It had windows everywhere, and I loved it because I could fit my quad in the back. I could fit a queen size Air Up mattress, my Easy Up, my toolbox. So that was like my D38 San Felipe wagon. I would stay in that thing and just go chasing, you know, all these races around. And you're doing 12 to 20 races a year. It's just nice to have something you can sleep in and just, you know.
Well, that sleeping and eating and being comfortable so that you're not sore or overtired makes a difference.
For sure.
Especially if you have to ride a 50-mile section or a 200-mile section because somebody didn't make it to the pit, which does happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Or if you run out of gas and have to push.
Yeah, or run. One time, I think it was 2007, Baja 1000. Dana Creech gave the bike to Mike Caffro, and Mike got on it, and it was spitting and sputtering, you know, and it wasn't running right. It was acting like it was running out of gas. Well, the float bowl was stuck open, so it kept draining the fuel, and just pumped all the fuel out, and he ran out of fuel like, I don't know, 5 miles before the next pit or something.
Oh, wow.
So he ran in his boots. He ended up taking his gear off and just running in boots. So here's this dude in his riding shorts just running down the race course to try to get fuel, and somehow got back to the bike, got fueled up. We lost like an hour of time, throughout. And
Oh, I believe it.
all the lead guys checked out, so we were back to 6th or 7th place by that point. It was early on. And, but you never give up, Mike never gave up. He wouldn't accept that we're going to run out of gas and that's it. Like you got to do what you got to do.
He's a pretty savvy guy down
Yeah.
there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. He's
He's
knows
a
his
wily
way
old
around.
fox.
Yeah. He's the desert fox. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't worked with Mike very much. Like obviously we've chewed a lot of same dirt
Yeah.
and had similar riders or riders that swap teams and, got to spend some time together.
Right.
He's a formidable opponent
Oh,
and an asset as a friend in the
Sure.
pits if you need
Oh
something.
yeah. He's a great dude, and we had a great time. I had such a great time racing with Mike, and I think I raced with him for Temecula Motorsports for about 8-9 years or so, and we've been friends since. We've always stayed close. But I learned a lot from him as far as preparation and just all the stuff that goes into getting a team together and getting it, to that level of winning a race, it really takes a lot of effort. So,
Well, yeah, there's just so much more into it. You can never be prepared enough.
yeah.
As I was prepping machines and loading the truck, I always show up with more than I need because if you leave that one part at home, that's the part you need.
If you have it, you will not need it. And that's all. We always looked at that too. We would carry these 50-pound backpacks. I'd have a spare stator or a spare piston when the 250R days.
Right.
I would rings, whatever, sandpaper, whatever you got to carry to get your bike to the finish line. So we always had heavy packs, and it was I always got grief from all the other team. They'd be like, "How can you carry this?" And I just, if you have it, you won't need it. Or at least if you can MacGyver something out of whatever you've got, so the more you can carry.
Well, I come from the mechanic side of it into the racing. I always loved riding. I loved to test. I got a chance to race some. And when I got to race Best of the Desert, they gave you an instruction. You have to have all these things. And then guys like you and other desert racers that knew me, kind of took me under their wing and said, if you're going to be out there with us, you need to have these things, and I'm thinking, all right. So I had a 50-pound pack that dwindled its way down, throughout the time, especially when you're prepping your own bike and what your machine will carry.
This.
What your machine will carry.
Yeah. Right.
And what you can carry.
Yeah. I kind of split it up, and that we started doing that later on, is putting more on the bike instead of on us, and having a little pack or having, getting tactical with our preparation on what we could carry on the bike versus on our back. Because maybe one guy would carry something that the next guy won't, and you need it, so we started carrying chain breakers and different things on the bike versus in our pack, and lighten our load, and that helped out a lot. And it's always on the bike unless somebody crashes and then you lose the pack or something. But
our quality of our chain has gotten better.
Yeah.
Quality of our skid plates has gotten better. Quality of our technology in building skid plates.
Yeah.
And then our riders have gotten smarter, so they don't just blast through the rocks at 100 miles an hour and destroy skid plates and sprockets and chain.
Right. Yeah, the bikes have came a long way, but in a lot of ways they're similar, so a lot of the R&D, especially the TRX 450, it's pretty much been the same since 06, 07. So a lot of the same parts have worked, or gotten better as they've developed,
Well, your transition from your 250R, when you work with Honda parts are Honda parts.
Yeah, the wheels all work, and just a lot of
your brake caliper bolts are all the same.
Right.
There's other parts that are the same that rolled over from the 250R. So you may have had that old part from your 250R that works on your 450R.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, great.
We raced a YFZ 450 in 04, and we put all Honda hubs on it, so we could use all our Honda wheels and everything from over the years. Just Scat Track made these titanium Honda bolt pattern hubs, so it worked out really well. We were able to save a lot of
headache.
Just changing everything over. So.
Yeah, I raced with Cycle Parts West, the Rocky crew, Golden West Cycle, and the Duncan team, and I had a Yamaha, and everybody else had Hondas. So you got 4 Hondas and a Yamaha. And we tried some Honda rear hubs so that at least we had one set of wheels the same as everybody. And we blew the hubs up on the first race.
Really?
Went back to the factory Yamaha hub.
Yeah,
and
it's hard to break.
Put a roll of tape or a strip of tape around the center of the tire, and just did it that way because it just worked.
Yeah.
Back before we had tire balls or back before we had any inserts,
Right.
It was just air in the tires, and you just had to deal with it.
Yeah, and when you're back when you get 10, 15 flats per race, and you just had to have tires everywhere and just cover your bases.
I think one year we went through 22 tires in one race.
Oh yeah,
it's just horrible.
And that's a lot of money people don't understand too. Like, I mean, if you're buying wheels and tires, that's thousands of dollars. That you're bringing
I
down.
had a great sponsor in 1980.
Yeah.
Selling tires, but oh man, 22 tires. 5 minutes on it. The tits are still on the rubber. And got a hole in the sidewall. Done. Throw that one away.
Yeah. Even with tire balls, we'd still bring 30 tires just to have, because you never know, especially in Mexico, where you're going to need it, where the trucks are going to be, and you might have to change tires just because they're bald at a certain point, and having tires where you need them is the hardest.
Your insert technology got so much better at the end.
Mm-hmm.
You get to where you could carry less and less, especially up here in Best in the Desert in Nevada.
Yeah.
You don't have to have as much. In Baja, yes, everybody had to have tires. Everybody had to have parts.
Yeah.
I used to build pit boxes for the Craig Christie team. Oh man, you could never get enough parts in those boxes.
I know. Yeah, it's hard, especially you get with 2 trucks or something. And I really liked Best in the Desert because it was 2 guys, 2 trucks, and it was really kind of leveled the playing field as far as it didn't matter how many trucks you had, how many big of a team you were only as strong as those 2 guys, and throughout that day, whereas Baja you could have up to 5 riders or something, and in the pro class, and you could probably have more than that, but I always liked Best in the Desert because it was more of each rider got to ride longer and have a better
no pre-running.
Yeah, no pre-running. It's just scary at times, especially the start of the race, heading into the sun or into the dust and stuff. That it would get a little tricky, but
brings your skill level up and your intensity.
Yeah. I'll never forget just watching Doug Eichner just ripping past me through the dust. Like in 06, it was one of those years, Best in the Desert. I mean, he was just a nut in the dust. Like, I've never seen somebody be able to hang on like he could through the dust.
He always told me he could see.
Yeah, he had X-ray vision or something, man. He was just like, I mean, he on a whole other level, just the whole other gear just gone through the dust. I mean, it didn't matter how hard we were riding; he was just shredding through the dust. And
but from what I hear, through the rumor mill, you got there at the later stages of your Best in the Desert career.
Yeah, I mean, we were definitely stepping it up. It was the first or last mentality, trying to just go win races and worry about Monday.
If you go back into the days and you talk about the really fast guys, we won't go back too far, but Matlock king for a while.
Yeah.
Eichner was king for a while. You definitely had your heyday time where you were the fastest guy around. So, I mean, you have a name that goes alongside some of the greats.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. I mean, we definitely had a good run, but just I give a lot of credit to my sponsors and just good products and good people that we involved ourselves with, and my teammates. I mean,
well, you worked hard. Don't sell yourself short. Dave Scott was one of your teammates. He's a good dude. He was a good rider.
For sure.
Dude. He worked with me for quite a few years as well.
Yeah, he came from racing for you, and we kind of talked him into riding with me next year,
which was a benefit to you.
Oh yeah, he was a strong racer. I mean, I raced against him for a few years, and watching him come up through racing with Christy and Craig and Best in the Desert. He raced with Jeremy, and he was fast. I chased him through the desert enough times to know that, hey, I'd rather have you on my team than race against you, and
because him and Jeremy Sanchez had won a championship.
Yeah, I think they won in So, in '09, I think I was racing for Scat Track with Greg Stewart. And I chased him in '08 and '09, was on the Scat Track team. But we ended up winning the championship '09 and in 2010 on the 650 quad, which was pretty wild bike. That full Lager XR 650 quad, and that was pretty much the fastest bike I've ever been on. But it was, Ken just put a lot of effort into that bike, which
There was a lot of money spent on it.
yeah, for sure. It was
It goes back to dollars do matter when you're racing.
Oh yeah, especially on a custom bike, where you can take that to a whole new level. I mean, he was taking these XR 650 engines and drilling out oil passages and like just fully on forensics on the cranks and seeing where things were getting hot and where, he was putting magnets in the motor and trying to catch debris that would come off the tranny. I mean, he was just super detailed on every little aspect of it. And so they had some struggles with that bike, at least the first few years it was built, just reliability and just kind of going through the problems with it. And then I was fortunate enough to ride it when they kind of had their bugs worked out. And we won the first championship on that bike, with Greg and really great family and people that for Scat Track. They're all good people. And it was real fun to race with them for a few years, that I did.
So when you go back and you start thinking of some of the guys that you got to race with, who sticks out in your mind the most?
Man, I've raced with some really great people, I raced with Wayne Matlock, Dean Sundahl, Greg Rowe, David Scott, Mike Coffer, just so many people that are real great riders. But, me and Mike have always been really close and good friends. And now he's racing UTVs and through tire balls. I'm working with him and doing some stuff. And so I've stayed close with all of them, probably closer to Mike than most, but,
you get to those friendships and you get those relationships and you've been through things that you don't, normal people don't understand when you're sweating and bleeding and working that hard for a specific goal.
Yeah. And people don't understand it. You have to dig so deep and you get so invested in winning a race, just trying to go to a race and to try to win it, it takes so much out of you, that you have these people around you. It's the best way to describe it is like the military guys. I think, when they go overseas and they have that, that brotherhood, it's kind of like that, where these guys while you're together, we're
not in battle, but it's our battle.
Yeah. And you're on the radio and you're trying to talk to each other and leapfrog and the logistics of everything so far ahead, it's not just the race. We would get me, Mike and Levi and Mark Spaeth, and Joe Graves, Joe Graves, that guy.
He's a great pit dude.
Great pit dude. I know you guys worked with him through Golden West in the first few years of the Honda.
He was my mechanic. Believe it or not, I had a mechanic. He was my pit guy for the couple years that I raced Best in the Desert.
He really stepped up our game. He came on board with us in 2006, and we had been seconds and thirds and every race. Me and Mike, we'd been racing for like 6 years and hadn't won anything, and so we were always the bridesmaid at the races. But when Joe came on board, he brought our logistics up to a whole new level. He got our communication together, he got all our pits organized, and just everyone really clicked with Joe. And Joe was just such a big inspiration to us to go do well, and we didn't want to let him down. He felt like
because that guy worked his
ass off. Yeah, he would put in so much time. All the guys that would go with us were all volunteers, and a lot of them, some of them got paid, but most of them are volunteers taking time off work to go fulfill our dreams, of winning a race, and they're involved so much, that it's part of their life. Yeah, I know, but
they're living it with you. It's from their side, their spot. They get to go and tell this story to their friends and their family. Hey, I was a part of this. This was a great moment in ATV history, and I was there. I changed the tire that got us to the finish line.
Exactly. he drove the truck and got us to the pit or whatever it is. You know, I mean, and that's kind of, we owe a lot to those guys, you know what I mean, that do that. You know how that goes. We're helping the riders in the nationals, and just how much support goes into getting a rider to win a race. You know, it's
you become a counselor, you become a friend, you become a nursemaid, you become everything.
Yeah, for sure.
And those riders become very special people to you.
Yeah, I can see that. I know we felt that with Joe and just all of our sponsors that we got so close with. I mean, I had a lot of the same products that you guys raced with, and we worked along, with Elka and Roll Design and Maxxis and Douglas Wheel, all those guys that we worked so long with. That it's just real special to give them a win when you can win a race or do well. It felt really good to pay back to all the people that would help you, and just we would always really focus on treating everybody good down there and at the races and making sure everybody had a good time. But getting it done on race day,
you always got to get it done on race day.
Yeah.
So when you start thinking back and you start memorializing, can't even talk. Sorry, some of these races, which one sticks out?
Probably the 2006 Baja 500.
That you didn't even hesitate.
No, that was. I mean, I just saw a picture of my grandpa. That he had a picture of me and Mike Caffro and my dad and my grandpa all at the finish line of Baja 500 that year, and it was just so special. I had Ricky Stater, Richard Simpkins chased the whole race with me and my dad and my grandpa. And we went through the ups and downs of the race of being back and being in third place, and then coming back and chasing. And Wayne had a really good ride that year. He was out front for most of the race, and so we were back in the back chasing him. And so I had that last ride from Ojos to Ensenada, and it was 30, 40 miles or so. And I got on the bike and I was like 50 seconds down, and I knew I had to dig deep, and those guys were just such inspiration for me just in life, but to have them at my pit at that time.
People that were super important to you in your life.
Yeah. Just so, it was just surreal, and they were all pumping me up, and you got this, and just that positive, I don't know how I rode that hard in that last 30 miles to make up. It's not a lot of time, but when you're chasing a great rider like Wayne or, Doug or something like that, to make up 50 seconds is a lot.
To make 50 seconds on
and
that
he's
lot.
Riding his ass off.
You're doing something.
So, it was really cool, and I could just hear them all on the radio going in. We had Temecula Motorsports helicopter chasing us back in, and everybody was just pumping me up, and I just, that one stands out because that was we just had in San Felipe 250 that year, I took a wrong line around 3 poles and ended up getting dock time. We won the race, but since I missed a check, I would say Wayne Matlock, him or Josh Frederick, I chased Josh through Nevada desert for a long 10 years, but Wayne and I have kind of battled for most of my ATV career, just back and forth. He kind of stayed down in Baja, but when I was winning up in Best in the Desert, but I'd have to say it's between those two guys, Josh Fredericks and Wayne.
Josh, they're both fierce competitors.
And Josh,
both great champions in their own right.
Yeah, they were really talented. They're great dudes. They all had really good support. They knew how to get with factory teams and have the top better bikes than us at times. But it was really special when we could hang with them or just do well. We got along with them really well. And but
Josh Fredericks rode Baja and Best in the Desert, so you had to face him in both.
Yeah,
arenas.
And he was my teammate. We raced together at Temecula Motorsports the early year in 04 and 05, and he won in 05. He won both Best in the Desert and Score, and we did a lot of it was a team thing. We were doing well at a race, and we kind of would help him. He was in the points, and we weren't, so. We did.
You always give that nod to your teammate that has the points.
Exactly. It's a bigger picture as a team, trying to support the main team and keep the sponsors happy.
Not everybody understands that. Why would you give up a win, or why would you?
Yeah, I wouldn't say we gave up a win, but we definitely, we helped
You
him.
helped. I
Yeah, we
understand.
gave him parts or, whatever. But Josh is a great dude and a great competitor. And that guy really knew how to ride a bike. I mean, I've watched that guy. I chased him through the desert in, 2013 or Vegas to Reno. He broke his foot peg off. He's riding on one foot peg, and I chased him for like 150 miles. I was just like stalking him, and I could not. I could get to his dust, and I could not get through his dust. It was just one of those things where you get him, and then it would just plume up, and I couldn't see, and I'd have to back up, and then I'd watch him just check out, and I'd kind of reel him back in, and we did that for 150 miles, and
then you found out he had no foot peg.
yeah. So then I come through the pit, and he pulls over just like nothing, like he's just. I looked down at his bike. He lifted his leg up, and his foot peg's gone. Half of his frame is missing. But the guy was an animal, and that was his nickname, the animal. And he was that guy. He could hold on a bike that through the whoops. That I mean. His feet could be dangling off the back, but he'd be wide open through the whoops.
I don't know if it was 2002 or 2003 that he did the Nevada 150, and I beat him to the finish line. One of my few podiums in Best in the Day. And, I can see the disgust on his face when he realized who beat him to the finish line.
On a Raptor?
I beat him on a Raptor 660. He was riding 250R. Granted, I had more HP than he did, but I didn't have the
So you're a
skills.
good rider, man. Good bike and good rider. And
I wouldn't say I'm a good rider.
great
I'm just
rider.
good enough.
I remember chasing you too. So 2001 Vegas 1000. That was a great race too. That was a memorable race for us too because I raced with Wayne on the DS 650, and you were with Alan White, right? On the
I was with John Gregory
John
on the 660
on the
Raptor.
660, yeah. And it was that 3-day rally,
Yep.
and that was a cool format. Those are really cool races. They impound the bike at night, and you kind of only have an hour or whatever it is to work on the bike. So it really is an adventure, and all your crew gets to kind of be involved because it's the chasing, and you're camping in between. It's just that was a cool event. But
I would have to say that the best races I've ever done. Vegas to Reno and Pont-de-Vaux.
Yeah, Pont-de-Vaux. That looked like a great race. I'm always wanting to go to
Passing 101.
Yeah.
Even if you're not a fast guy, you're still passing somebody every lap.
Every lapper or a new guy.
Yeah, just somebody. You're just passing somebody.
Yeah.
It's just the greatest experience. I mean, I'm very blessed to have done the things that I've done.
Yeah.
But there again, I don't think I'm ever got to a Danny Prather level or
Duncan Racing, man. I don't have a shop with 100 quads in it and ready to build the stuff. But hey, listen, you guys are legends, and I've always respected Duncan Racing and just everything with you guys.
But that's not what this is about. This is about you.
No, I appreciate it.
Not the place that I work.
Well, hey, but you work there, but it's part of your life, And
ATVs are my life, dude. I wouldn't do this if I didn't love it so much.
yeah,
And that's why I wanted to sit down and have conversations with people I respected. And there's people in the industry that maybe I don't see eye to eye with, but I still respect them because they're doing what I love.
right.
One of them is your sponsor.
I know. Yeah,
Alan Knowles.
Yeah.
He's been around a long time. He's
Yeah.
well respected. He's won his fair share of championships and done some good things in the ATV industry.
For
And
sure.
you cannot look away from that or discount it in any way, shape, or form.
yeah. Yeah, he was a big supporter of ours for a long time. I mean, he really stepped up for us, and built reliable stuff, and to chase you guys down. And the Golden West team, it took a lot of reliable parts, and we definitely. He helped me out a lot, more than just engine builder. He was, one of our biggest supporters, chasing with us and doing that. So.
Yeah, you always seen him out at the Best in the Desert.
Yeah,
He loved going there and
Yeah, he was. I can't tell you how many times I've seen him on the side of the road, cheering me on, ripping by, or at a pit, and always willing to give a hand with us. And it was a great relationship we've had, and I raced with him for probably 10 years, 11 years, And
do you think that the experience of watching your dad gave you fears or positive reinforcement to move forward?
Let's see. Well, watching my dad, it definitely gave me the ambition to go do it. And I really had fun riding with my dad. And we always did those fun rides in Mexico, and we would go, ride from Santo Tomas to San Quintin and back and do all that. But definitely had the respect of the bike and the fear of crashing for sure. But how you doing?
We just had a special guest come and sit down with us, Danny Duncan, one of the founders of the ATV industry.
Good, sir.
And Danny Prather shares his name. So Danny, he just came to sit in and maybe add some spice to our conversation. Jump in whenever you can. Go on with the story about riding with your dad in Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, we just always went as family trips down to Mexico, race, before the race, and I'd go pre-run with them and pre-running with my grandpa and my dad and Ricky Stater and all that. It always just gave me that drive to want to go race the races myself and have my own team, but I raced with them for a few years too. I raced with my dad, and I was able to race with Ricky Stater and with Samco and my dad. We did for about 4 years. From 96 to 2000.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I raced from 97, 98, and 99 with my dad, Ricky Stater.
That's a memory.
Yeah,
you can't.
And we had
priceless.
It was awesome, and pre-running with them and going down and just doing all the logistics stuff with them, was just
You're learning from old wizards that's priceless.
Yeah.
Ricky was, from what I hear, I never got to participate with him in Baja or any races ever, just to get to hear stories of that. He was
a legend. Man. He was a great rider too. He's so smart, and just really, he's always supported me in my racing efforts. I mean, he was my biggest sponsor probably the whole time I raced, as far as the company and just.
Well, you're still affiliated with the company from what I see on certain things that you have, Ricky Stater.
Always. Yeah. We're on me and my brother are able to be on their website, so we helped them out, do some promotion stuff. And they always, Patty was such a huge help, sponsoring us with whatever we needed, in the last 10 years of our racing. So
even after Ricky passed.
Yeah. She helped us out, and that was. It's just real special to have. They're like family to us,
Right.
They live in the same town, and my mom worked with them and everything. So it's a good time.
And you stopped racing. Why?
2015, Vegas to Reno. I mean, we had the number one plate. We got second place in the first 3 rounds of that series. So we knew we had to. I was racing with Dave Scott, and I knew we had to win Vegas to Reno that year to get the championship or have any hopes. And Jeff Hancock and Matt Hancock had put in a huge effort in 2015, and they really came out swinging. And we were riding as hard as we could that year, and it was everything I could do to get second place behind those guys. And we had some mechanicals or just little things, that come up, in a few of the races. And it was a great race. We led the race for 450 miles. We were out front, kind of within a 1 to 5 minute lead on the second place guys, and having a great ride. And we built a heavy horsepower bike that would do 90, 92 mile an hour on the dirt. And it started running hot towards the end when we got some silt in it and up in the elevation. And so we were kind of fighting those issues with overheating. And what ultimately caused us to fall back was a swing arm pivot bolt broke coming into Gabs, pit 10 up there. And so I went from first to 5th place in one pit, changing a pivot bolt. And so I got the pivot bolt back in and caught back up to second place, passed a few guys, and coming into pit like 12 or something up by Fallon, Nevada, I had passed Robbie Cockrell coming into the pit, and I was kind of in a rush and came into I ended up pulling into a Baja pits, and I had guys at the same pit, but I was in such a adrenaline rush, I just pulled into the first guys that waved me in. So Baja pits gave me fuel, and I watched Robbie pass. Like, he didn't even get gas. So I left that pit just on it hellbound to pass this guy, because I knew we were going to get into some single track rollers where it was really hard to pass for the next 30 miles. And I knew I had the speed and the equipment to get by him. So I just turned it up, and, I knew I had to get by him to catch Jeff and Matt. So about a mile, he probably had 30 seconds on me leaving the pit, and I caught him within a mile. And we were going through some pretty heavy cross grain that was going through from big rains that they had. And I ended up seeing his helmet, and I could kind of focus on his helmet through the dust. And I was really riding over my head to try to pass him. And I saw his helmet disappear, and I just pulled a NASCAR maneuver, which I never would do, but I ended up just twisting the throttle instead of hitting the brake pedal, and the dust cleared, and I could see him go through this gully, and it was about a 15-foot long washout that crossed the road. It was about 3 foot deep, square edge on the other side, and I just pulled everything I could and tried to wheelie across it, and I cased it on the other side, and it ended up flipping me around backwards and landed on the back tires going backwards and just spit me off into the rocks. And I broke my arm in 3 places and punctured a lung, broke 3 ribs, and tore up my leg a little bit, and rung my bell pretty hard. And I sat there and for a minute, and Trent Kendall came up and was nice enough to dig me out of the dirt, and he got me back on the bike, got the bike flipped over, and I really was considering just leaving and going to the next pit on the bike, but the bike was pretty banged up, and I could still see the pit where I just came from, so I ended up going back to the pit, and I was pretty hurt, and I didn't realize I broke anything yet. But luckily, there was a trophy truck team that had an EMT there that kind of wrapped me up and got me situated, and but yeah, that was pretty rough. I ended up not going to the hospital like a dingus, and went to the hospital back in San Diego like 2 days later. And after a few beers and a few ibuprofen, I was okay feeling, but I got really dehydrated and really I was really messed up from not taking care of myself earlier from the wreck, and so it took a long time for them to get like IVs going and getting me dialed in, and but pretty much why I'm not racing anymore is just watching my kids come into the hospital and see me in that, all hooked up and in a bad
How many children do you have?
place. I got 2 kids, Ava and Allie, and 8 and 6, but they were young then. They were probably like 1 and 3 or something, so they were crying and just seemed, it was just,
They didn't understand.
they didn't know what was going on. I was okay, I was all right, just a couple broken bones, but after that, I just figured, hey, I need to take it easy for a little bit, get a roll cage maybe, or do something different. But I still ride an ATV and do that, but I'm not racing it.
But you still work in the industry, doing tire balls for specific
doing,
UTV teams and ATV teams?
Yeah, we do most of the top ATV and UTV teams in the West Coast, and a lot of the, truck teams are starting to do stuff in Class 10 and different classes for SCORE and Best in the Desert. So that's been really cool to be kind of involved in the industry still and be able to work with all the guys that I looked up to or raced with, So it's kind of helped with those relationships.
Does it give you a different perspective going from rider to sponsor?
For sure. That's probably the biggest change I've noticed, just the respect level I've had. I appreciate the guys that put in the effort and do that. And we always tried to with our sponsors, but, just seeing that level of, or that the other side of it, and just being able to help the guys and help the teams, but also
the race win's not always the most important.
Right. Yeah. And having a good record, having a good attitude and having a good presence and that's, what we look at.
Take care of your fans.
Yeah.
Take care of the people that take care of you.
Exactly.
And that will rise you to a higher level, even if you're not number one.
Right. Yeah. It's not always the number one guy that gets the support either. And we learned that racing, sometimes it was the guy that had the that was just the most social online, or now with Facebook and Instagram and all these social media stuff, it's kind of it's cool to see. It's changed the industry a little bit. It's not so much the race results or so much of the magazine articles and
It's coverage. It's coverage.
It's content.
The more fans you have, the more subscribers you have, the more people that follow you, the more people want to be tied to you.
Yeah.
Because they're going to get recognition.
Yeah. I mean, I wish we had it early on when we were racing. I think it would have helped us, because just having that extra exposure would have gotten us more support. I think, it's not that it's easy for guys now, but somebody without the talent can do it with a bunch of followers, you know what I mean? Or it might get support, in that regard. But
well, you have to learn how to do social media, which for us old guys.
Oh yeah.
If you got white hair right now, it's a struggle. And
Yeah,
I got a lot of white
it's
hair.
a whole other skill set. So, but it's great. I love being involved with this industry. I've got a lot of respect for guys like you, and your family, and just everything you guys have done for our sport. So to be able to continue kind of staying in this without.
I can tell you this, Danny. I've admired you for a long time as the rider that you are, and I always wanted to be the guy that got to build your bikes or to be on your team, and unfortunately for us, it never worked out. We were on opposite sides a few times, and we raced against each other a couple times, but unfortunately, we never got to work closely.
No, I really wish I could have. I've definitely ridden a few Duncan bikes, and boy, they're fast, man. Especially, a couple Craig's bikes and a couple, Simmons and those guys, that you've built really great bikes, and it's cool to work with you.
Do you still do any
side.
testing on the side for specific teams? Because you do have a good feel for the machine.
Yeah.
I know you've done some test riding for me.
Yeah, that was
mentioned.
cool. Yeah, that was a good time. And, we've done it for a few teams, but nobody really consistently. We've done some prep and done some race builds that for some Mexican guys down south. But most of our stuff is just Powerball related right now. The UTV stuff's kind of blown up. So we've kind of focused on that side of the business thing since.
And that Simmons bike did win the race.
Yeah, right. So, hey, it won the race the next weekend after I rode it. Yeah. And I knew it worked great, man. That thing hauled butt, too.
And didn't you tell me it wouldn't pull a 15-tooth countershaft?
I didn't think it would. But being able to pull it in the sand wash like it did. Uphill.
In the wet sand.
No, it ripped. It ripped it. And I think those guys proved it that next weekend.
Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah, it was all set up. You gave them a good package,
and they went out and did it.
Yeah. And that's all you can do, right? As a builder or as a sponsor, is give them your best effort, and it's on them, right?
Well, I'm sure that Alan can attest to this. When you put all the time in and you build that machine, I know my dad's built some machines, and they're just as good as you can make them. And then you put this young man out there on there, and he goes and does things with your machine that you never imagined can happen. Or they bring it back in a box, and you're like, how did you break it?
Yeah, this part was indestructible. My pro rider's never broken it. How do you break this right away? But I know I've seen
it is amazing. I've had guys that never broke anything, and I've had guys that just
destroyed
shit.
Yeah, I definitely have seen that too. Just certain riders are super hard on equipment, or I think it's just the way they ride.
You and Dave were pretty easy on most of your equipment.
Yeah. I mean, we were real similar riding style, similar weight. 200 pounds, trying to get stuff on a desert bike. But yeah, maybe 210.
Maybe a little higher.
215. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, he came from the Christie's team, and there were some bigger boys on that team.
Well, sometimes it takes a big boy to hold a quad down,
Sometimes.
I've seen some heavy when I raced. Yeah, Alan White back in the day, man. Yeah, that dude on a Lobo was like out of control.
When we raced that 660, he was 275.
Yeah, but he knew how to throw it. Travis Dillon, even Wayne Mallock. I mean, he was a big boy, So there's definitely been some big riders throughout the years that are. It's not just about finesse. Sometimes it is about just throwing it in there and throwing it in the turn and wide open, But
exactly, you have to be able to hold the machine down.
Yeah.
You know, I was when I raced desert, I rode a bigger machine, and I was a bigger guy, and it pounded through some of those whoops and the G outs. No issues. Just
Momentum.
because it was so heavy.
Yeah.
You didn't even back off.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but it didn't go through the little stuff as good.
Yeah, it's a give and take. I mean, it's hard to set up a bike for different riders with different weights too. I mean, we've had luckily mostly like in Baja, you get 5 different guys that ride different or have different weight. You know, different. They sit different on the bike. They have different.
Well,
riding.
Calf was a little guy compared to everybody else. You know what?
Yeah,
160 soaking wet. You know,
him and Levi were pretty close in weight, and then me and Mark, I'd say, were close. But you know, it just kind of everybody has to deal with the different bike. I always got the bike when it was worn out or barely hanging on. You know, falling apart, 1,000 miles in. So,
because they knew you were going to get it to the finish line.
yeah, I guess so.
In 2000, gosh, I'm scratching my brain. 2009, we went all the way down to
La
the
Paz?
tip.
Uh-huh.
We went past La Paz.
Oh, in Cabo.
We went to Cabo, and
Yeah.
you brought it in with one gear.
Yeah, 2007.
Yeah, 2007.
Yeah. Well, Wayne actually. So that race, Wayne Matlock had the issue. He was in 4th gear the whole time. Oh, well, so that was the race that Mike Caffrey, I was telling you, ran out of gas and had to run back.
Right.
So we had our problems early, and Wayne had like a 2-hour lead on us for the majority of the middle part of that race, and all the guys did really good. I ended up getting the bike about an hour and a half down from Wayne Matlock. Like we had like 350 miles to go, so I rode that last section, and but they had problems. I think they were stuck in 3rd or 4th gear for quite a while.
I knew it was somebody.
They had 3rd, 4th, and 5th or something. They couldn't go down, or it was something. But I tell you, I chased Harold all the way to Toto Santos and finally passed him in Toto Santos, and he was ripping for being stuck in 1 gear, but definitely was holding him back on the wide open stuff. But you know, that's how racing is. You know, some teams have the problems early, some don't have them late, some don't have any. You know, and can win a race, but
You can race that same race 100 times and have a different issue
yeah.
every time.
Yeah, you're fighting terrain and locals and the bike itself and
That
And
part
this-
that was made on Monday instead of Wednesday.
right. Yeah, who knows when parts are going to time out? You know, it's really hard. Luckily we raced the same machine. I raced in 05 for so long that we kind of knew when things were going to time out, or you know,
That's
when
still
to
my
replace,
preferred.
you
That's
know.
still my preferred build for the desert.
Yeah,
is
mine too.
05.
Yeah, 2005 bike TRX 450 was just really reliable, bulletproof, and you could build them. I mean, I rode yours had the big bore 470s and those bigger motors. They really just rip, and that transmission is real reliable, and
The clutch was strong.
clutch strong, and
The
good
head was strong.
suspension, good A arms, and the geometry on the spindles and everything was what like you guys do. Putting those components on the newer bikes.
Yeah, well, you run the 0405 spindles, get it turned better.
Yeah.
You run the 0405 linkage because the rear shock, in my opinion, works better.
Yeah, it's a little shorter, turns a little wetter. It's got a little less,
Well, most
more
of our
up
desert
down.
bikes, we run a 06 length swing arm
Okay.
with an 0405 linkage because it stays straighter in the whoops.
yeah, just tracks. Yeah, wide open. Yeah, we would switch it up from race to race from different parts.
All the little tricks and all the little. You can only build the Mona Lisa so many times.
I know. I look at all these guys now, and it seems like it's been replicated so many times. But there's so many versions that can be kind of paint combos and different things that they all have their own character. And
It's the different guy. It's the different engine builder that makes the build.
yeah,
There's some guys that we've been watching build bikes for 10 years, 12 years, and still are making the same. And they've tried every engine guy or every chassis guy, and they're still having an issue.
Yeah. Well, you go with guys that are reliable, like Duncan, or the other CT, or you know what I mean. We would go with proven people that would help us, and same thing with product. Like Roll Design and Elka, and just those things that.
Like you have a desert legend in Doug Roll, who
and he knows.
I think he teased on Desert Rocks as a young guy.
I think so.
Back in the day when I was just a kid when I still had blonde hair.
Yeah.
Long blonde hair, and that guy was a legend then.
Yeah.
And the knowledge that you just sit down and have a 5-minute conversation with the guy, and you're blown away because you're always learning something.
I used to love testing with Doug. We'd go out, with Elka for a week or something in Ocotillo, and he would make me pound whoops for 8 hours a day. It didn't matter. He didn't care how hot it was, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, we would just ride over and over and over until he was happy with it. It didn't matter. He would build us the best, you know what I mean?
And change it.
Yeah. And it would get better every time.
I got a very unique experience. I got invited to go to the race in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
And I got to work with the Elka engineers right on site, and Doug Roll was kind of heading the whole deal. And Bo Barron was testing his shocks, and I was testing the shocks on the Yamaha. And you got to figure, this is way past my retirement portion. And there was a kicker, an edge that they made us hit. And I was very blessed to watch Bo do it so that I could ride my Yamaha over this edge, and I was scared to death.
Yeah.
And when we were all done, Bo goes, "Wow, you can ride."
Yeah. He was pleasantly surprised, I'm sure.
Oh, well, I was, a little rounder than I am now, and out of shape, and just so ecstatic to even be there and to have the experience. Was
my first experience with that was like I went down to Ocotillo Wells, and Elko was down there with Roll and everybody, and it was kind of the same scenario, but it was Doug Eichner was riding, testing one of the first setups with Elka roll design on the 04 Honda,
right,
and we were on a Yamaha testing for Temecula Motorsports, but being with both of those guys and just watching Doug and kind of learning what the feedback he was giving the guys, and just paying attention to what he was looking for and what he was trying to hit, or it really helped us kind of develop our stuff and me to kind of know what the guys were looking for, and watching those legends like Doug or Greg Rowe, all these other guys that I've raced with, that's just taught me so much. And I think we try to pass that along with the other teams. That I always shared our not there was always stuff that we didn't share, but we always tried to kind of give our other teammates or competitors similar stuff. We didn't want to be racing somebody that had inferior stuff.
I don't give all of our secrets away.
Yeah.
I mean, there's engine things that we all do that are such and such.
Yeah.
But I always felt that if we're there and that guy needs my help, I'm going to help.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. We can be in first, we can be in 50. It doesn't matter. That guy's going to help me when I need it. And I may win the race because of his help.
That's right.
So I'm going to help him, even if it means that I got second that day.
Yeah. One year, Vegas to Reno, I was leading out front, and then all of a sudden everybody got lost. And I'm ripping down this dirt road, and we're maybe 100 miles into the race, and all of a sudden I see motorcycles passing me coming head on, like they're coming, everybody's looking for the track. And so I came around this corner, and there's Josh Rowe came head on with one of the bikes. And the guy, he was messed up. He broke his arm and his bone was sticking out. So I had to stop, so I stopped and helped him, and I took off my tool bag, and me and Josh fastened like a full on splint for this guy. We reset his arm in the desert and put splints and zip ties around his arm to hold this guy's arm on. And then we put him on his bike and pushed him out of the desert, and he wanted to ride it out. So he rode it out to the pit, but we got him going, and so after he got him going, I looked down, and Josh's bike was just in a ball. The Nerf bar was all up in the fender. And so I helped him get the Nerf bar out. I mean, we spent like 20 minutes trying to fix his bike. And finally I'm like, hey dude, I got to go. Well, here's my tools. I just left my tools, my tool pack. I'm just like, man, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have left all my tools. Here we are 100 miles into a race, but I figured, well, if I
Karma's going to come back.
Karma's going to come back. Maybe he'll stop for me. If I need the tools, he'll give them back to me, But so we ended up. Now was Garen Fuller raced with Brandon Brown, and they had a good lead. They had a 20-minute lead when we finally came. We all finally found the race course again, and we came out. We were 20 minutes down, like in 7th place or something. And so we just started putting our head down. Me and Dave put our heads down and ended up catching everybody. And up into the last, probably the last 80 miles. I rode harder than I've ever rode down a dirt road. Garrett Fuller was on my butt, and we were probably about 15 seconds apart. And I knew that like I had to give the bike to Dave with at least 30 seconds on Garrett. And then that would put us ahead of him on time, you know. So I gave him the bike. We had a 35-second lead. And I'm like, dude, just go. You got to dig deep, you know. And Brandon jumped on the bike. And Dave took off and on our bike. And we won by 20 seconds that race. After 600 miles, 580 miles or something, we won by 20 seconds.
I Las Vegas to Reno by 26. I know how that feels. Especially when you cross the finish line and they tell you, we think you won by 4 seconds. And they come back and tell you, oh, by the way, you lost by 26.
And you're watching the clock and you're looking at your time and who's coming. And oh, man, it's so nerve wracking, you know, and on both sides of it, when you're losing it or winning it, because I've done both. You know,
I think Matlock on the Suzuki got third that race.
Oh, yeah.
You know, somebody asked me one time, you know, we were talking about Matlock, and I go, I beat that guy. And they go, no way. And I said, I mean, when he was first coming in, I had a faster machine, and he was learning how to make a Z400 work. And I can't even come close to riding as fast as that guy now.
The equipment was better.
I just had a little bit better bike, and I had a great partner, and we got lucky.
No, hey man, you worked hard for it. You know,
we did.
You earned it. You know,
could I even come close to any of you guys? No.
Oh yeah, dude. I chased you through the desert.
But I don't want you chase me on.
I've never seen a guy ride with no gloves, Lenny, that could hang onto a bike as long as you could. That 01 Vegas 1000, you came in at the end of the day, and I just looked at your hands. You didn't have a blister or anything.
Nope.
You were just no gloves. I was blown away, man. So ever since that day, I was like, so much respect for you just to be able to hold on to a bike like that.
I put gloves on, I get away with it, so I don't do it.
Yeah,
I can't.
You got to feel the bike, right?
So, Danny, if people want to get a hold of you, where do they go?
You can go to tireballs.com or Prather Racing and hit me up, and you know, whatever.
On Facebook,
Danny Prather, Danny.Prather on Instagram.
And you'll do tire balls for them, no problem.
Yeah, race prep, tire balls, whatever they need.
Excellent.
Some advice.
Is it mostly UTVs or is it just?
Most of the race prep is ATVs, and then the tire ball stuff has been mostly UTVs as of late. You know, just we've had some really good success with some top teams in Baja and Best of the Desert with them, and really good reliability. So I'd say we have 30 guys in Best of the Desert running our stuff, and probably about the same in Score. So got some really good partnerships that we work with the military and do other stuff in development. So good time.
Well, I just want to say I really appreciate you coming out. That's the dogs, you know. I hope everybody enjoyed that little stint there.
Yeah.
Hey, I really want to say thank you for coming to ATV Talk and sitting down with me and telling me a little bit about. I hope you'll come back and
for sure
and spend some more time with us. Next time you come, bring your dad. I'd really like to sit down and hear some stories from him.
Yeah, that'd be great. He definitely has some stories for sure.
Well, I want to get him here with Greg Rowe and Alan Fox, and
that'd be a great time.
And hear some of the stories that they all can tell. Yeah. Because that's before. I mean, I was there, but I wasn't there like I am now.
Yeah, Barstow to Vegas races and all those.
Oh, just things that were way before my time.
Yeah,
I wasn't even in it then.
Yeah. Well, you guys were doing short course stuff, probably.
We were motocrossing most of the time.
I love the Desert family. It's great to be, you know, involved with so many good people and like yourself, and just really enjoy working with everybody with tire balls and doing all that.
Yeah, I can't wait to tease Greg, because the only picture I have of him is him behind me.
I have a picture, though. Duncan did sponsor me, and I need to send you this picture.
Well,
it's on my toolbox. I meant to grab it on the way down here, but I'll send a picture of it.
I appreciate it.
I got my 250R, fresh Duncan graphics, got a Duncan banner in the back of my garage, and you guys did help me for 1 year. And so that was 2000, because I had a full Timmy Boy bike, you know, Timmy Boy chassis. And
this is arcade.
Yeah. So it was a while ago, but I did ride for Duncan for a little bit.
That's awesome. So, thanks again, Danny. I really want say thank you. I appreciate you stopping by, and
Appreciate the time.
we'll let you know when this releases, and
Okay.
so that you can
Check it
listen
out.
to our interview.
Yeah, we'll share it.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna have a little after hours here with the advice from Danny Duncan.
Well, one of the things on sponsoring a guy, most everybody seems to think that they should be sponsored.
Yeah.
But as a guy that pays the bills, how many customers do they bring in? I don't care if what's going on, if they win races or don't. That they're bringing any customers, because that's one of the reasons that you sponsor them.
Yeah, you're in it for
To help them, they're supposed to help you.
Yeah.
And some writers don't seem to think that. The whole idea is to bring in some
Sell
customers
parts.
so you can make some money, so you can sell parts and service and whatever.
If you're not selling parts for me,
Yes. Referrals or some kind of sales.
You want something either for a guy to stop by and say, "Hey, I seen so and so out there."
Yeah. With a Duncan motor or Duncan pipe or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, you're looking for that referral. And that's kind of, being with Tireball stuff now is seeing that, where it's not just the guys that have the race results. If they don't do any kind of support or any kind
If
of
they don't mention your name, or
if you're not seeing the post on social media,
tagging you or doing that, I mean, it is difficult to have any of those return referrals or any of that. I mean, that's what we all, or the industry needs, and they need that referral to keep sponsoring the next team and the next guy.
well, if you don't take care of your sponsors, you're not going to have any sponsors because these are the guys that get you to the race, whether you believe it or not.
Yeah.
Most people don't realize that if you get sponsored, you actually are getting paid because that sponsor is taking money out of his pocket and giving you product.
Even
That's
a
product.
discount. And that's why I was always so happy to just whatever we got from sponsors. But even a discount, you're still the company's losing that 30 or 40%, of profit. That's all.
That's what keeps the lights on.
Exactly. So I mean, it is them like paying you in a sense.
It really is.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
yes, yeah, and
My dad, Danny Duncan here, taught us as we were growing up, because I got to see the rigid 9110 three-wheeler racing, and you come from an era of guys that, there was nothing. There was nobody but a few engine builders, and we were using lawnmower tires and at the time Mitchell wheels.
Right. Yeah, you guys developed. All you guys that started back in those early days have all just contributed to the development of the machines themselves. Because I mean, a lot of these companies, like the factories, look at the race machines as their improvement for the next year. And
well, because when we started out, stuff was stock, and everybody's trying to figure a way to. Yeah. I like to just bigger pistons.
power, suspension, better handling, gets you quicker around the track.
Yeah.
When you're riding rigid, it's a little tough to get better suspension.
Those first 90s was something.
Seat cushion.
One of the things that when early on, and guys would come in and they'd have all these decals on their bike because people used to give away decals. Now they sell them, but and I asked, well, how much is he giving you? What are you getting from that guy? And I says, if they ain't giving me something, I ain't putting a decal on my stuff, And that way, if a guy's got a decal, it means something.
Yeah. It's not just a logo. It's their helping support the brand, and the brand is supporting them.
Yeah,
Well, those details came in the box, so I put them on the bike.
or
Hey,
put
it's
them in,
great for advertisement.
But you paid for that retail.
You guys keeping that logo, that Fat Boy logo on there, it's advertisement.
It is advertising.
Yep. So even the retail market, a lot of them, I give a small discount to a great guy. You know, good guys get 10, 15% off.
Well, your return customers, you always do a little extra service for them because you need to. Yeah, because they deserve it.
Because you're telling your buddies and they're doing this and they're supporting you and your product and they're keeping that pipe on there with that logo. I mean, you know what I mean? They're showing off their buddies and social media, you know, it's a big part of it too. You know?
Now social media is a huge portion of it, and your customer service, in which I learned from the master over here, you take care of those people.
Yeah.
You I mean, you go the extra
one,
mile.
Yeah, never doing one dirty, and you always just do everything you can to keep them happy, but stand by your product too. You know, whether if there's a warranty issue or a production issue, you know, you stand by your own product too.
You stand by it. You stay late. You come in early. You come in on the day when you're closed to meet somebody, to pick a machine up or deliver a machine.
Go the extra mile, and that's what keeps the people coming back. And especially in a time like we have now, seeing that you guys are busy, and Tire Balls is doing really well, and it's just good to see that, you know, it's more than just that presence online. It's word of mouth and all these other guys, you know, spreading the word.
I remember Craig Christie commenting to me, you know, we're there on a Sunday evening and I'm offloading his bike after he raced a score race and he's on his way home. And he's like, nobody meets you at 7 o'clock on a Sunday night to drop something off.
Oh, I know.
You know, I'm
I'm constantly doing that, having guys drop tires at 10 o'clock at night, whatever it is.
I've done it. I've left them in your driveway.
Yeah, you know, whatever it takes. So.
Slid them underneath the motor home. Thanks, Danny. There they are. I took a picture and sent it to you.
So that goes both ways. I would do whatever it took to get somebody to the race as long as they treated me well. You know, I'm going to treat them well. So, and that's just what comes around goes around in business, and this industry is small, and trying to keep it, you know, good name and everything is good.
The small industry, you know, there's guys that, you know, Bob's dealt with, that the generations, they're still there.
Yeah.
You know, they don't maybe do the same thing, but they're still around.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, several businesses that we do business with, we're dealing with the grandson now instead of the father. I deal with the father and or the grandfather.
I'm sure people think that when they call your shop too. You know,
I have customers that when they roll in,
dealt with you back in, you know.
Yeah, and well, your dad built my dad, grandfather this, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I remember those. I was there.
Yeah, that's really neat. It's a special, you know, it keeps that coming. You know, it's not too many multi-generation companies out there, so it's really cool.
We were talking the other night about the first 90s three-wheelers. Well, I went to a dealer show because I worked for Valley Motorcycle at the time, and we went to a dealer show, and they rolled that thing out. Who the hell would want to ride something like that?
That's not a motorcycle.
No, you know, and then
They did
Joe Phillipson was the parts guy at Valley at the time, and he wore out a set of tires just wheeling up and down in front of the shop. And then they were saying, it doesn't have any power, so we got a little more power. And then Tommy, the owner, got a little pissed because he says, they expect it to be that powerful when they buy their own, you know. Yeah. But
a lot of fun, and then that came out. I think that came out in the 007 Diamonds Are Forever. I believe that's the movie. I'm going to go back and do the research so that I'm not telling people to go watch the wrong movie.
Yeah,
but they rode them out on the beach.
I remember that. Yeah.
And you know, they had a blue one, a red one, and a green one. Yeah. You know, they're doing all of 30 miles an hour, if that, shooting guns at each other. Well, guys, you could damn near walk faster. What do you think?
Yeah, man, death machines. But they came a long way, though. You know, from where we were back in '79.
1969. The first one hit the shores.
Really?
Yeah. I couldn't remember what year. I just know.
I was 4 years old. The reason I remember this is I remember the story, and I have vague visual memories of it. Dad brings home a green one, and we have a lower property, And we're riding around, so he gets smart. Okay, this is back when you didn't wear helmets when you rode a three-wheeler. So wear your helmet when you ride your ATVs or your motorcycles. Just wear your helmets.
Yeah.
And he's giving me a ride. I'm 4 years old. My grandmother and mom are standing on the porch watching this, and Pops rolls the thing over on his back. He's upside. He's on his back.
I was trying to crawl over a log.
He's on his back with his feet on the pegs, hands on the handlebars, holding it up so I can crawl out.
Oh yeah, holding it up.
You know, and he pops it, pushes it back over on the wheels, and you know, here we are today, so many years later. No, did I ever see this coming?
Right. Yeah. I mean, the machines have just came so far. You know, especially the new UTV stuff. I mean, that stuff came a long way since 10 years ago. You know.
Well, I was very fortunate. I was with Doug Eichner in, I believe it was Wisconsin or Minnesota. I don't remember. At Polaris, the factory where they had the 800, and I didn't drive it, but Doug did. And they said, hey, you got to take it easy and don't go. Doug takes off and does exactly what they tell him not to do. And he's ripping the thing around and he gets out. That's a lot of fun. That's awesome. And, you know, it's half the size now of what they are and half as powerful. And the suspension, I don't think worked. But, you know, yeah, you get to see from the rigid three-wheeler where we started.
Yeah.
To look at the suspension we have now, you know, I mean, that
a lot of it is driven by companies like you know, that build those aftermarket bikes and building those race machines, and then that just turns into, you know, progression. So,
well, I remember I was very fortunate to be involved with Yamaha, factory Yamaha, coming to our shop, and you know, there's 10 guys with clipboards, and we got a Yamaha sitting on the stand at one of our race bikes, and they're asking us why we did this and why we did that.
Right.
I was a newbie enough to where I just was brutally honest with what I said, so that might not have been so good. But then Honda came and bought a couple machines from us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Lobos.
Nice.
You know, the guy that up in Ramona. I can't think of his name. Chris
Barrow? Will?
I don't remember what his. He's got a company that does UTVs up in Ramona.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, and he worked for Honda at the time.
Oh, Chris Hawks, Benchmark.
Yep.
Yeah,
yeah, he's a smart guy.
Yeah, super smart.
Yep. And he came and bought some Lobos from us for Honda to do some development work. I don't know whatever happened to it or where it ever went because, you know, we weren't privy to that.
Yeah.
And I got to go to a Polaris factory and that was a learning experience, you know, shut your mouth and do as you're told, but you got to tell them what you need.
Yeah.
And what they had on the stand there wasn't what I needed.
Right. Well, they're looking at the reliability and insurance and the liability part of it, you know.
Yeah, the factories don't.
So.
The factories don't build race bikes; they build recreational bikes that we raced.
It's pretty cool. When we raced 2001 Baja, I raced with the Bombardier team with Greg Rowe and Dean and Sundal and Wayne Matlock. But they based the Baja X off of our race bikes. The version of the DS650 was kind of, you know, it had the foot peg loops over so your feet didn't fly off, and it had some different stuff that our race bikes had. And so it was kind of neat to see them kind of take our feedback or look at our bikes. And, you know, Honda's done that with Carmen Caffer's XR650 bike that Roll Design built. Before they built the 700XX, they were looking super close at Carmen's and at Scat Track's bike and different things. But I remember the engineers just hovering around it and looking at different aspects of it and trying. So we really thought that 700XX was going to have a straight axle.
I wish it would have. It would have been so
I think so.
mint.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the IRS was a great
novelty,
and it was really comfortable to ride, but it was just not quite there, you know.
It was a recreational bike.
Yeah, it's a great bike for the Border Patrol. Like we see them using that all the time. Comfort, weight, load capacity, and you know, everything like that. And it rips with reverse and everything. It's really a good bike for recreation. But
we tried making a race bike, and a lot of people did. I know Wade had a lot of success on it after those last few years in Baja, but
Yeah, Craig Christie bought one and turned it into a pre-runner.
yeah,
Put a gas tank in the back, and we get an extra, go 125 miles on it, and pre-run and have a great time. And you can't know where a machine's going to go the first time you see it.
Yeah.
The development, like the 04, the development of the 06 up 450R, some of it came from the 0405, but it's its own monster with its own needs.
Yeah, different setup.
Similar setups, but different. Where we add an oil cooler and we put dual fan on it. And do some things like that. The suspension is similar.
Yeah,
But the power delivery is totally different.
Yeah, right. Different gearbox and everything.
Yeah, and when you crack the throttle, the 06 up has totally different things. Yeah, you're like, oh boy, I got a handful today.
Yeah, they were great. We always liked that reliability of the transmission of the 05, and just was
can't beat it.
Yeah.
I mean, hey,
buying a Baldwin tranny for the 06 stuff. The 05 was a better reliable source for us.
Same here, and 2018 and 2019, Best in the Desert died over again.
Yeah. Same stuff. 20-year-old puppy.
Yep.
25.
Yeah, that's the platform that we use to go in. You got anything else to say today, Ed? Run out of stories.
Today.
Well, hey, we really appreciate you stepping in and sitting with us.
Yeah, it's great to talk with you, Danny. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
For having me.
Thank you.
Again, thank you again, Danny, for coming. Dad stepping in and talking with us, and look for ATV Talk, and we'll get you back here, and we'll talk again. Thank you again. The team here at ATV Talk would love your feedback. Please email us at hello@atvtalkpodcast.com.
Duncan Technologies International. More than 33 years in the industry building racing programs and ATVs around the world. We build winners.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, don't forget to rate us on all the available platforms and share us with your loved ones. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook for more ATV Talk news. See you next time.